Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to a brand new FYC. We are closing in on the big day, March 12th, the Academy Awards, the 95th Academy Awards. And here to talk about all things Oscars, the amazing Perri Nemiroff and the mighty Jeff Sneider on the best, the most fun, the most exciting, the most heated debates you will find anywhere in the universe about Oscar season. On this show, we are going to look at Best Actress, Best Actor, and we're going to do the same thing we did with Best Picture. We're going to rank each of the nominees from our least favorite to our most favorite, talk about why each will win and why each won't win, and then at the very end, we're going to make our pick on who we think will win. Are you ready, Perri Nemiroff?
I think so.
Are you ready, Jeff Sneider?
Let's do this.
And you've got a visitor, Perri. I think we're going to have a fourth member.
Malcolm is definitely ready. Let's see if he sits down or if he wrecks shit.
I think he's wrecking shit.
No, he's chilling right now. I don't know. I might get lucky today with this.
You even have a furry friend who is like, I got to listen to what they say on FYC.
What do you say, Malcolm? You want us to start? All right. He says we're ready to go.
Malcolm says we're ready to go. Then without further ado, Perri, let's go with Best Actress. Who is fifth on your list?
So my fifth is Ana de Armas, and you know she's my fifth, and it's not to say I don't want it to ever come across like I don't think it was a good performance. This is basically listing a favorite in like top tier performances of 2022, but you know I think in her case it also comes from the fact that I don't love that movie overall, and the two things are obviously tied together. So she's my personal number 5 on this list. And then on top of that, I also think she is the least likely to win this award, pretty much for the reason why I personally put her at the bottom of this list of 5, because the movie has not gotten a whole lot of love from the Academy, and also it got very divisive reactions when it came out initially. So I do not think she's going to win this.
All right, Jeff, where does Ana de Armas rank on your list of Best Actress nominees?
She is also at the bottom of my list. A bit of a head-scratching nomination, especially when we consider, who was quote-unquote snubbed this season. I didn't make it through this movie. I mean, I'm still an hour and a half in and never went back to finish it. The problem wasn't necessarily her performance. From what I saw, it was good. She took a big swing. She deserves credit for it. But the movie was not for me. So why I think she could win, maybe the older Academy has some sort of fondness or nostalgia for Marilyn Monroe and appreciates the big swing that she took. Why she won't win, she's just up against much stiffer competition.
Okay, well, I would say the Academy definitely does have a fondness for Marilyn Monroe, because there is another nominee on this list who was nominated for playing Marilyn Monroe in My Week with Marilyn. So there you go, Mr. Sneider. The Academy does have a soft spot for Marilyn Monroe. And I agree with both of you. Ana de Armas is number 5 on my list. I think it's a big swing of a performance. And it's just in a movie that's not very good. It's a tour de force performance in a movie that just did not deserve her performance. And it's funny, I went to the premiere at the Chinese Theater last fall, and I was like in the middle of the row. Like, I would have had to walk over people if I even thought about walking out, which I thought about doing. But I just was like, I'll stay. And I watched the rest. Maybe it'll get better. It didn't. So she deserves to be nominated. Sure, it's a great performance. She's not going to win because she has so many other strikes against her. And also just no one's really talking about her in that way. Although it does say a lot that she was nominated for a SAG award in addition to being an Oscar nominee. So the actors branch in both guilds definitely liked her performance. All right, Perri, who is number 4 on your list?
My number 4 is Michelle Williams. I am one of the folks out there who did really like her performance. I am just also a believer that she should be in supporting and not lead. So that probably feeds into where she ranks on this particular list. Why I think maybe she could win is because There's significant support for some of the top ranking individuals that I have on this list. And perhaps there's a narrative where they could split votes and then she could have enough to power her to the top. Why she won't win is because I think those ones that I just mentioned have a much better shot and a much bigger support system behind them right now, and a lot more enthusiasm behind their work individually and their films overall. So I think she is very unlikely to win this ultimately.
All right, Jeff, where does Michelle Williams rank on your list?
Also, well, I guess I'm on my own list. I haven't seen To Leslie, but I have her fourth for the purposes of this conversation, basically. Michelle Williams, I thought was fantastic. I think that she is a lead. I think that it was maybe not the smartest, but it was the right thing to do to campaign as the lead. Sure, she could have won a statue or whatever, but that's not what this is. I truly don't believe it's a supporting turn. Why could she win? Because she does have she's overdue narrative, right? Just like Amy Adams, has had or still has, I guess. But Michelle Williams has been nominated a whole bunch of times. I'm sure the Academy would love to see her take it at some point. I don't think it's going to be this year, though, because again, she's facing Michelle Yeoh, she's facing Cate Blanchett. And now you've got to deal with this Andrea Riseborough, right? I mean, I can't believe I'm talking about Michelle Williams being fourth and not third, but there's just been so much chatter about Riseborough in the last 2 weeks. I do think that Michelle Williams just kind of fell back in the race. So I don't think she's going to win either.
Well, you know what? I watched the film again recently, and I agree that not only do I think that Michelle Williams gave a lead performance, I also think that Paul Dano gave a lead performance. But I understand why they moved Dano into supporting and kept Michelle in the lead. This is, like you said, Jeff, a bunch of nominations. This is her fifth nomination. Her other four are Brokeback Mountain, Blue Valentine, which is amazing. Like I said, Marilyn Monroe in My Week with Marilyn, and Manchester by the Sea, which is a searing performance. I think she's great in the film. I think she's the heart of the movie. But I also think that people are talking about other nominees here. Certainly was two. Now it's three, maybe winning Best Actress. So I just think that there's just going to be a lot more talk in the other categories here. But I think she gave a great performance, and another year, hey, maybe she would be a front runner. But I just think that there's more talk about other Best Actress nominees to win. All right, Perri, who's number third on your list?
On my personal list, and I'm going to preface this by saying these last three are extremely close to one another.
Yeah.
But right now, my personal list has Michelle Yeoh at number 3. I think it's a phenomenal performance, and it really is going to make me extremely happy if she goes on to win that Oscar. And I really do think she can. Everyone out there knows how much I love that movie and love every individual's work within the movie. We just have like some really great performances on this list this year. But why I do think she might win, I'm going to go back. I think, Jeff, you brought up this narrative last week a little. I really can see a world where, because of Cate Blanchett's support of Andrea Riseborough's performance, we might see some votes transfer from Cate to Andrea. But I don't necessarily think that Andrea Riseborough is ever going to get enough votes to power her through to the win. But I think taking enough away from Cate could make Michelle the more likely winner. And I just want to say, like, I'm just like playing the math game right now here. I feel like I don't want that to ever come across like Michelle Yeoh is any less deserving and is only going to win because of that campaign issue there. That's not the case at all. But, in trying to figure out how things could shake out. And also, I've heard a couple of people say to me, Cate Blanchett in her speeches and whatever campaigning she's doing doesn't express that same kind of enthusiasm to win the award. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I understand why she feels that way, but she doesn't express the same kind of enthusiasm to try to want to win as some of her competitors here. And that could wind up, bumping up others over her at this point.
Perri, it's a really good point. I think there could be a situation with Cate Blanchett's performance where it's just so great that despite the fact that she has been very vocal about the dog and pony show of Oscar season, and also just how you should be voting for Andrea Riseborough, which might siphon off votes from her. But there have been other actors in the past who did not really embrace the Academy, but still wound up winning Oscars anyway. Of course, there's Marlon Brando for The Godfather. There's George C. Scott for Patton. Even though they were very vocal about not really playing the game. Of course, this is a long time ago and things have changed. But you know what? The Academy said, I don't care what you think about the Academy. You gave a great performance and you're going to win. And that's it. Having said that, Jeff, where is Michelle Williams on your list?
Michelle Yeoh?
Michelle Yeoh. Thank you. Yes.
She's number 2 on my list. I still think that she is Cate Blanchett's prime competition. And I do think I like that theory that Cate Blanchett may lose some votes to Andrea Riseborough, allowing Michelle Yeoh to sort of surprise everybody. The reason why I don't think that she will get it is, obviously Cate Blanchett, I just think delivered the year's best performance. I think that the other thing is when I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, I thought she was very good, but I didn't think she was the best in her own movie. I thought Ke Huy Quan was the best. So I just think it's tough to give someone an Oscar when they're not even the best in their own movie.
All right. So I understand your point. This is what makes FYC so great. So Perri has her at 3. Jeff has Michelle Yeoh at 2. I have Michelle Yeoh at 1. And I know that in the past, when I talked about how much I want Michelle Yeoh to win, I'm thinking with my heart versus my head. And then my head kicks into gear and I go, look, you know what? Cate Blanchett's going to get that 3rd Oscar. Everybody's voting for her. She's winning everything. But then there's the fact that Michelle Yeoh is a legend. It's her first nomination. She is in a lead performance, the likes of which she has never had before. And Jeff, I do agree with you. Ke Huy Quan gave a revelatory performance. I was like, whoa, this guy's really good. But I think part of that is because Ke Huy Quan and Michelle Yeoh feed off of each other. They're a great team in this movie. And I just think, the potential for the Academy to make history here by voting for the first Asian actress to possibly win lead actress at the Oscars. Then again, maybe I am just overthinking this big time, like we do here on FYC. And maybe you're right. Cate Blanchett's she's not wavered. She's going to win. But then there's what we brought up last week with Andrea Riseborough, maybe siphoning votes off of Cate Blanchett after Cate Blanchett asked for those votes to be siphoned off. Basically, be careful what you wish for. So will Andrea Riseborough get enough to win? Will Cate Blanchett lose enough to lose? And will that allow Michelle Yeoh to sneak through? So she's my number 1 because I was already really, team Michelle Yeoh anyway. But I think that the drama of all this is actually going to help her. And I know this might be a little bit of a risk, but risk is our business.
I like you taking a shot, Scott, but let me ask you, who do you think gave the best performance? Just take away everything else, the movie that they're in and how much you liked it, their gender, how many times they've been nominated.
That's reflective in the fact that he picked Michelle Yeoh as number 1,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So you think she gave a better performance than Cate Blanchett and Tar?
Okay, here's why I think Michelle Yeoh gave listen, this is an apples to oranges conversation because they're 2 different movies. But in some ways, Jeff, and that's a great question, in some ways that obsessive becoming unhinged off her rocker performance that Cate Blanchett gives in Tar, as great, as phenomenal, as riveting as it is, it's not unlike the performance she gave in Blue Jasmine, which is kind of similar in some ways, where she already won an Academy Award. So am I overthinking this by thinking, maybe the Academy will think they already gave her a performance for something similar? I really think it's between the 2 of them. And I mean, Michelle Yeoh's a legend. I mean, she's never won.
I'm not calling you crazy. I think you've laid out a very good argument here.
well, this is good to see. I mean, we still have to do our final predictions, and who knows where that'll land. But anyway, so Perri, Who's number 2 on your list?
I'm gonna throw a real curveball here, but I just want to emphasize something you just said, Mans, because like I could talk myself in circles on this matter because I love ranking things based on my personal passion. I love award season prognostication, clearly, but like when you think about it, something isn't quite right, and it's certainly not mathematically sound to compare two different artistic performances. I mean,
Right.
they're playing completely different characters in totally different movies, and yet here we have to sit here and say like this one's better than this one. Like, really?
Well, that's what
Maybe
Cate
that's your
Blanchett was talking
your
about.
favorite over that one, but
Right.
there is no like mathematical formula to determine one is better than the other. Anyway, my number 2 on my personal list is Cate Blanchett. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I didn't think I'd ever be able to say that because I didn't think we'd wind up in the situation that we're in. But I think her performance in Tar is phenomenal. I said this when I first saw the movie. She is mesmerizing in that role. I couldn't take my eyes off of her in someone who is delivered time and time again over a lengthy career and has been honored for her work. It's incredible to say that I think this might be her best performance yet. It's something else. And I think why she will win is thus far a lot of the like the predicting factors that we talk about are largely working in her favor. So she's probably heading down that path more than anybody else. But as we also just brought up, there's certain other campaigning expectations that she has not been abiding by. And I think if anything, those are the things that could wind up landing her in a position where she doesn't win the Oscar and one of her competitors gets it instead.
That's right. Jeff, where is Cate Blanchett on your list?
She is number 1 on my list. I think she gave the year's best performance by anyone. It's just ferocious, and it's a dance that she does with Todd Field. I don't know if I'm hearing myself here, because it's also the character, right? And it's that we don't often see female characters like Lydia Tarr. But she is revelatory in the role. I do think it is the best work of her career. Why she may not win, that's a divisive film, and I do think that Everything Everywhere All at Once was much more well-liked within the Academy as a whole. And she's won twice before. So there's definitely a possibility, she is vulnerable, but I think if you just go off the eye test, then she's a runaway winner.
Really, really good point. I have Cate Blanchett at number 2. I already made this argument. It's Perri. I mean, your point, like it's an apples to oranges thing, and this was Cate Blanchett's point when she accepted her Best Actress win at the Critics' Choice Awards, when she said, criticizing the Dog and Pony Show, putting us up against each other. I mean, look, that's not going to change anything. It's still going to happen. But Cate Blanchett is amazing, and I love the movie. I love her performance in it. And if she wins, absolutely, she deserves it. But I just think there are other factors at play here that kind of shook up this race, of which one of them, big time, is Andrea Riseborough and all that drama, people talking about it. That's either going to hurt her or help her. But I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. All right, Perri. Number 1 on your list. I mean, we know who it is. Say it.
Yeah, I mean, really, like even before all this Oscar talk, one of my favorite performances of 2022 was Andrea Riseborough in To Leslie. I felt that way about her work for years and years now, and I love that people are finally realizing, oh, the reason I don't know who Andrea Riseborough is because she truly loses herself in every role. So a lot of people out there are first coming to understand how wide her range is and how much she's accomplished. But that because of that, I've always sought out her work. So when this film landed on the South by lineup last year, it like immediately became a priority to cover. And I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, holy shit. Like she does it again. And then on top of that, I'm busy sitting there thinking like, oh, this is like another limited release that Andrea Riseborough's in that's not going to be seen. And I'll appreciate it, but it'll fade away because it doesn't have the same platform that other releases have. And now look at where we've landed. But, I'm amazed by her work in general. I think this is a truly exceptional performance. And, why she won't win. I do really think that Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh are the juggernauts in this category, and even with all the talk about her, I think they have even more momentum and an even bigger platform to work with based on how much talk they've built up since the very beginning of award season. She's definitely climbing a little here, as we've said already, but I don't know how good her chances are, but it could be one of those things where, holy shit, surprise on Oscar night, and she winds up taking it.
That could happen. How much does she climb after all this talk? Do people resent the quote unquote questionable practices during her campaign, or do enough people go back and watch the film because it draw attention to it, making people go, oh my God, she actually is the best actress? Jeff, where is Andrea Riseborough on your list?
I have her at number 3. I think, this was sort of fun while it lasted, but I think the nomination is ultimately going to be the reward for her. I have not seen the movie. I defer to Perri. I trust Perri's taste when she says that Andrea is excellent in this film and it's the best work of her career. I have no doubt. And I will watch the movie before we make our final predictions and Oscar night and everything, but I haven't been in a rush to see it. And I think that there's probably a lot of voters who sort of already made up their mind and feel like when they saw her name on nomination morning, they're like, oh, I got to watch this now. Like, I just haven't. Again, I don't want to spend an hour and a half with an alcoholic. I can barely stand my alcoholic friends. So.
Can I just interject with 2 things? Just one thing, because I know that kind of response to other topics have stopped people from wanting to watch particular movies out there. And I'll admit, To Leslie isn't always the easiest watch, but it's one of those movies that has its heart in the right place and ultimately does leave you feeling like you didn't just like wallow in that sadness and that tragedy and that challenge for nothing. It has something very, very, very worthwhile to sit with in the end. And I really appreciate the narrative and the encouragement that I felt based on her being involved to experience what it might be like for someone to go through and to learn a little bit more about that kind of situation. But the other thing that I wanted to point out, because you mentioned that, it's not necessarily like your priority and that others in the Academy might feel that way. The thing that I keep thinking about is, I bring up my mom a lot, but it's also a lot of other people who aren't necessarily in our professional bubble, but they're movie lovers outside. And there's so many people in that outside that have deliberately sought out this. I can't believe how many people who are casual moviegoers who have told me they have done what they needed to do to watch To Leslie. So I feel like if it's reflective in that kind of movie watcher, it has to be happening within the Academy as well.
And I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that there are Academy members who have said, oh, I want to do my due diligence and see everything that's nominated. And they saw that nomination that morning and, they got right on top of it. I do worry that there could be a backlash, and that she may suffer for. But on the other hand, it's like she's all we've talked about for 3 weeks. This is exactly what the Oscar race needed. I don't know what we would have talked about these last 3 weeks if it weren't for Riseborough Gate. So she may benefit from that, but there also may be a little bit of a backlash. And again, I think that people may have already made up their minds.
Well, right. I mean, this is certainly hitting at the right time. And I did see To Leslie at the South by Southwest last year. And I remember thinking, great performance. And, I did not think Oscar. I wasn't thinking that way. I think we were just still in Oscar season last year when South by Southwest happened. And when I saw it again after all the brouhaha, I went, okay, yeah, that's an Oscar-worthy performance. Absolutely. So I have her at number 3 on my list. And I think, like, when you look at 3 of the Best Actress nominees, it really is Andrea Riseborough, Cate Blanchett, and Michelle Yeoh who gave the best performances. And trying to pick which one is going to win, which one deserves to win is tough because each one of them deserves to win. Each one of them gave a searing performance. But there are other factors at play, a lot of politics, a lot of like the timing, and a lot of like, well, will this person take away votes from that, allowing this one to move forward? We're going to see. So ultimately, Perri, final choice. Who is winning Best Actress?
I'm sticking with Cate Blanchett for now.
Okay, Jeff?
Cate Blanchett.
I'm sticking with Michelle Yeoh for now. Those are the key words, for now, but Michelle Yeoh is my pick. Let's move on now to Best Actor. Perri, who's lowest on your list?
I'm gonna make a lot of people real mad, but again, we're talking about what is essentially, in a sense, the 5 best performances of the year. I'm not putting it at number 5 because I think it's a bad performance by any means. I actually think it is the absolute best part of this movie. I just didn't like the movie overall. My number 5 is Austin Butler for Elvis. I think
Wow.
he is fantastic in the film, but I wind up in that situation where I don't think I got the maximum of what his performance had to offer because I had other issues with the movie, specifically with some structural issues in the script that I think took away from what he was giving me in terms of access to Elvis's headspace. So, because of that, in this group right here, if I'm saying my favorites, yeah, he's my number 5 of 5. Why I think he could win, though, is because holy shit, a lot of people out there really love him. They really love this movie. And I think this could wind up being a situation where, I think he's probably in the top 3 to win, but of those 3, he would be the surprise win of those 3. And I do see things heading in that direction. So even though he's my number 5, I think he's far higher up on the list in terms of chances to win.
Okay, Jeff, where is Austin Butler on your list?
3. I think he was very good in Elvis, but he wasn't great until the last 5 minutes, really. I didn't think, or at least that movie wasn't great until the last 5 minutes. I don't think that he gives as like emotional a performance as Rami Malek gave in Bohemian Rhapsody. I hate to compare him to that, but obviously, Rami won the Oscar, and that's what we're talking about here. I just think I think why he could win, because Elvis does have a lot of support. It has more support than The Whale. And I don't know that it has more support than Banshees, but clearly there's a lot of support for Elvis. Why he won't win, he's just too young. You don't give Best Actor to someone this young when you have people like Brendan Fraser and Colin Farrell with their narratives in this race. I do think Elvis was a little divisive as well. I think everybody mostly liked it, but I don't think people loved it. I think it's like a pretty solid B+ movie. And I also think like Brendan Fraser has really stuck with campaigning. Like he's all about The Whale, and Colin Farrell's all about Banshees. Austin Butler, he's already moved on. Like he's on the set of Dune. He's not really worrying about Elvis too much.
All right, a lot to say about that. First of all, I loved Elvis. I've been singing its praises, no pun intended, since it opened last summer. The movie's made $287 million worldwide. So yes, a lot of people do love Elvis. Nominated for 8 Academy Awards. And yes, Austin Butler, and by the way, all 5 of the Best Actor nominees, they are all first-time Oscar nominees, all of them. And Austin Butler is, yeah, I agree, Jeff, he's young, but he'll probably knock it out with another Oscar-worthy performance in no time coming. But I love the film. I thought his performance was fantastic. And to be able to stand out from all the razzle-dazzle of a Baz Luhrmann movie, I mean that in a good way because I love the film. I think it says a lot about his performance. And I don't think he just gave it in until the last 5 minutes. I thought, especially the second half of the film, when it gets to the 68 Comeback Special and Vegas, like that's where his performance really comes to the fore. I think it's a deserving performance. I mean, he won the Golden Globe for Best Actor Drama.
Asterisk, right? There's an asterisk on that win.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, of course there is. I mean, the Golden Globes are not the Oscars.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Brendan Fraser of it all.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the fact that Colin's in, comedy, like
fair enough. Right. Okay. Right. Because Brendan Fraser, for those watching, Brendan Fraser did not embrace the Golden Globe nomination because of past problem that they had with him. So maybe they didn't vote for him because of that. So that's the asterisk. But I love the film. I love his performance. I have Austin Butler at number 3. He is also a SAG nominee, but I just think there are 2 other performances that I think have a much, much stronger chance. All right, Perri, who is number 4 on your list?
I'm surprised to hear you say that, though, by the way, because you were very much thinking like Austin could win.
And he still could. He still could. I still think he could, but I don't know. I think it's between 3 of these guys, and my opinion could change when we make our final predictions. I mean, I love the film, and I love these three guys, and it's hard to pick, but we got to pick. All right, Perri, who's number 4?
I'll tell you my 3 and 4 keep flip-flopping depending on, what I most want to rewatch in any given day, but on this particular day, I have Bill Nye at number 4. I mean, when does he not deliver in the narrative that this is finally his opportunity to get an Oscar nomination is still kind of mind-blowing to me. I can't believe it hasn't happened many a times before. I don't think he has a chance in the world to win, though. It's like if I were ranking these performances based on chances to win, at this point, he would be my number 5. The nomination is the win, and that's where the road ends.
Okay, Jeff, how about you? Bill Nye, where is he?
I have it number 5.
Okay.
And I know we were sort of talking about who's going to get that 5th slot, Tom Cruise, Paul Mescal. I don't think Paul Mescal's the 5th slot. I think Bill Nye kind of is number 5, really just because I don't think anybody's really seen that movie. I haven't seen the movie, and I have no plans to. Even with To Leslie, at least I kind of want to see that. I have no interest in Living.
You should see it.
I'm sure it's very good. I'm sure he's very good, but I just have no interest. It's not for me.
I saw it last year virtually when it was part of Sundance, and thinking like that was a performance that he's never given before. It's a very, very deep, very moving, profound, poignant, all that stuff. I have him at number 4. What's that?
He's a great actor.
And the movie is very good. If you like Kurosawa, you'll like this movie. He is a SAG nominee, also a first-time Oscar nominee. I have him at number 4. But I think the nomination here is the win for him because they're talking about 3, probably 2 other actors who will pull it off. All right, Perri, who's next on your list?
So my next one is at number 3 is Paul Mescal, and I have him at number 3. But just to go back to the point that Jeff just made, I would have had Bill Nye as number 4 in terms of getting in and getting the nomination. I think since the nominations have been announced, though, Paul Mescal has risen up and bumped Bill Nye down on my ranking to win, at least because I think more people are seeing After Sun. And I also think it does not hurt when you hear a nominee's name in the news booking big, high profile projects. His star is just like, it's not just on the rise. He's freaking soaring right now. So I think that's only going to boost his chances to win, even though I think he has a ceiling that he's not going to be able to get past. He's going to be in a position where he can't touch the top 3.
All right, Jeff, where's Paul Mescal on your list?
I think I completely agree with everything Perri said. And I know I just got off on a whole rant on Twitter yesterday about people agreeing with each other on podcasts. But, what can I say? Perri's just, she knows her stuff.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while. Paul Mescal, I agree, just has had more heat than Bill Nye the last few weeks. I do think people have really made an effort to see After Sun. And I do think booking the job helps. As far as why he won't win, again, he's just a little too young. I don't think as enough people have seen the movie. Certainly, more people saw Elvis. So yeah, I think Paul Mescal and Austin Butler sort of cancel each other out in this race.
Yes, more people definitely saw Elvis than After Sun. Look, Paul Mescal getting in is a big, big win already for him, especially when a lot of people, including 2 of us at least, were saying Tom Cruise should get nominated, and he didn't. But Paul Mescal is deserving of the nomination. And in another year, maybe he'd be also deserving of the win. Well, he is deserving of the win, but at least he would certainly be a front runner to win. But that will come. Right now, I have Paul Mescal at number 5. Not to say I don't like the performance, just that out of the 5, it's my least favorite. And even that is a poor choice of words because I think the movie is really, really moving and he's terrific in it. All right, number 2 on your list, Perri.
Colin Farrell. I think he would be number 2 on my personal list and also number 2 in terms of chances to win right now. And I feel like that might be a lot coming from me, that his performance shines through so much because, again, I do not think Banshees is a bad movie by any means, but I've said on this show a couple of times that movie has been less for me than it has been for other people out there. But it's just so undeniable that Colin Farrell and really that entire ensemble is delivering peak work there. As beautiful as that screenplay is and as strong as McDonough's direction is, that story does not work unless you find a group of actors, including Farrell, who can deliver a pitch perfect performance and bringing it to life. And he very much does it here. And as a big fan of his, I like that narrative that now is his time and he deserves to be honored, especially when I'm thinking about what he did in 2022 between this, After Yang, and the Batman. My God. I mean, he deserves and 13 he deserves some recognition. But I think there's one person on this list that's going to stop him from getting it.
All right, Jeff, where is Colin Farrell on your list?
I have him at number 2 as well. I thought he was wonderful in this movie, and I think he's really proven himself to be a great actor. There was a time, not that he was bad in movies like Phone Booth or The Recruit, but there was, a time where he was kind of just seen as like a pretty face coming off of Tigerland, where he became a star.
Yeah.
He's typically playing the tough guy, and in this he's vulnerable. And it is a different kind of role for him, and I think he's great. However, he's part of an ensemble, much like Michelle Yeoh is, where everyone's kind of supporting each other here. Whereas like Brendan Fraser just puts that whole movie on his shoulders, and so simply because of that, I give the edge to Fraser in this race. That's why I have Colin Farrell at number 2.
All right, so this list is like I'm picking my favorite.
Yeah.
And this is a situation where my 3 keep flipping between Austin Butler, who I already talked about, and Colin Farrell for Banshees, and for Brendan Fraser for The Whale. And Perri, your point about Colin Farrell just having a banner year with 3 incredible performances. Jeff, your point about Colin Farrell delivering a performance that is unusual, or at least not something he's typically done before, by a more vulnerable performance. Perri, your point that the movie wasn't for you, totally understand that. It took me a couple of viewings to really get it. And I think it's a movie that's worthy of trying to get it, because Martin McDonagh, who wrote it and directed it, and for everyone watching, thank you for pointing out that he was nominated for Best Director. All 40,000 of you, you rock. Thank you for fact-checking me. But I also think you've got 4 acting nominations here. You got Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, and Kerry Condon. And for this movie to walk away from the Academy Awards, 4 acting nominations, and not one of them wins, I just don't know if I see that happening. That's just, and I think that between Banshees and The Whale, Banshees is a more well-liked movie. It is an actor's movie. It's certainly a writer's movie. It's also a director's movie. Oscar nominee Martin McDonagh, 2-time Oscar nominee Martin McDonagh, 3-time actually. So the question is, who gets it? I mean, I think Colin Farrell is terrific. I have him as number 1 on my list here, but it could, as soon as we're done with this conversation, Jeff and Perri, I could go, no, I think it's going to be Brendan Fraser. This is not my final prediction. It's my prediction for right this moment at 9:15 on February 9th, 2023, as we are recording this conversation. And I have grown to love Banshees with each passing viewing, whereas I still have issues with The Whale, which is a more divisive film. But as you say, Jeff, Brendan Fraser carries the weight of that film literally and figuratively on his shoulders. So Perri, I think I know obviously what your number 1 is. Why?
Brendan Fraser is my number 1, and my list has looked like this ever since I saw The Whale. And I'm definitely someone who is critical of the movie overall. I am not critical of his performance. And to borrow your phrasing that you just used, Mance, like the Whale is Brendan Fraser's movie. Like that whole thing is his movie. And I have listened and watched countless interviews that he's done on the awards circuit, and I don't know. He feels like he embodies what I love about this time of year so much, just like oozing with what feels to me like real authentic appreciation, not just for having like a performance recognized, but for being part of this industry and being able to practice his craft like this. And he's just like, he's so damn humble, and he's so good in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, he ticks all the boxes this season, and I think that kind of that almost like intoxicating love he has for his work and for this industry and for filmmaking in general is going to keep him in the top spot, and I think he's going to continue on and win it.
Okay, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I ever since I saw The Whale, I was blown away by his performance. And even if you don't like the movie or don't like the script or its depiction of heavy people, I just don't see how you can take that away from him, like what he accomplishes. And so much of that performance rests in his eyes, right? It's like strip off all the prosthetics and everything and just focus on his eyes. I thought it was magnificent. Why he may not win it is, like you said, Scott, there's just a lot more support for Banshees overall. I think Colin Farrell has a very similar, narrative to his, where they both, been around for a while and done good work. So there's both an overdue factor. It's going to be, I think it's a closer race than maybe we're giving it credit for, but I do give the edge to Fraser right now. And he's played it perfectly all season.
See, now this is the power of persuasion and the good points and the respect and the intelligence and the background that you both have. I keep flipping between Colin Farrell and Brendan Fraser, and I love the film Banshees more, and I love I love the arc, the turn that Colin Farrell's part changes after the second half of the film. He starts off the movie as a real sort of happy-go-lucky, not a care in the world person, and then he just turns into someone who's like, I'm going to kill you at 2:00 tomorrow. And that's a transformation in the performance, closer to the sort of thing we sort of maybe have seen Colin Farrell do in the past. But he still has that vulnerability. But Perri, to your point, how he, Brendan Fraser, like when there's an absolute authenticity in his humbleness, his appreciation. He's so genuine. When he collected his Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor, he got so emotional. And not that I think the CCA has any weight in terms of credibility, but in terms of the kind of exposure that Fraser might get from that appreciative win that he had, Academy voters might go like, well, he is great in the film, and boy, does he appreciate where he is right now. And that could give him the edge. And while I'm sort of favoring Colin Farrell for the purpose of this conversation, if I'm going to pick the winner right now, it's going to go Fraser. So there you go. Any other final thoughts, Perri, before we close this baby out?
I just think this was a special episode, and it's a good episode because Malcolm deemed it worthy to stay in the frame the entire time.
If Malcolm is staying in the conversation, you know that this is an engaging conversation. Jeff, any final thoughts?
It was a quiet episode for me. I wish I'd been screaming more.
Well, there is always next week. And while you are here watching FIC on Perri's channel, be sure to head down a little below and make you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to Perri's channel. And big thanks to our sponsors, sponsor Above the Line. I just put a down payment on that Beverly Hills mansion thanks to our new sponsors. So way to go, Above the Line, for being the first sponsor that we've had on FIC since we went rogue and have been doing it on our own. What do
We're
you
still
think
open
of our
to Cadillac or whoever wants to come in?
Yeah, sure. So make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think of our predictions for Best Actor and Best Actress. Especially let us know. I mean, you had a lot to say last week when we talked about the Riseborough situation. Let us know what you think, how you think all of this talk will affect her win, will affect Cate Blanchett's win, will affect Michelle Yeoh's win, because I think that is really what's making the conversation this award season really, really interesting. Next time on FYC, we're going to look at supporting actress and supporting actor, and we're going to do all of this over again. So be sure to share FYC on all your social media platforms. Let everybody know that this is the award season show you should be watching. And until next time, FY, see you later.